I want to talk about
many a
GTA
thing.
6. Sorry, I'm going to hijack it.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
Let's talk about GTA
Yes.
6. So the headline here is some game makers hope that Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost up to $100 at launch. And let's get through the whole thing. I'm going to blow through this pretty quick here, and then we can open it up to discussion. Industry analyst Michael Ball wrote in his State of Video Gaming in 2025 that some game makers hope GTA 6 will be priced at $80 to $100, breaking the $70 barrier and helping $50 titles move up to $60 titles move to $70 to $80, etc. He stated that game prices have never been lower in real terms than they are today. Larian's Michael Dowse responded on Twitter saying, "You're not supposed to say this out loud."
That sounds like something you would say.
Here's a graph of GTA prices corrected for inflation. In real terms, a $70 GTA 6 would be the cheapest ever GTA, which is, when you account for inflation, pretty interesting. Here's a graph of US prices for packaged video games. Shockingly flat. So this is nominal prices. This is what it says on the sticker. And then this one right here is the adjusted for inflation version. So it stands to reason that today 1 equals 1. And in the past, 1 equals a lot more than 1 today. Redditors were quick to point out that simply adjusting for inflation doesn't tell the whole story. And that is true. Inflation is so much more complicated than just price go up. Some things do not go up. Some things actually do go down. Physical media had real costs, not just for materials, but also for duplication, packaging, manuals, shipping, etc. Sticking with the SNES example, we found an old pricing breakdown from Super Play magazine. Oh, super cool. Okay. Here we go.
Whoa.
Breakdown of cost for your average game. 1% freight, 4% marketing, 1.7% duty, 4.6% developer's royalty, 30% retailer's margin, so that's where Valve got their number from, 15% tax, 33% Nintendo, and 15% publisher's margin. Shockingly little going to the actual developer. I mean, I guess that shouldn't really shock us at this point in the games industry, but hey, there it is. So we know that from other sources that about half of Nintendo's charge was manufacturing, so about $10 of the $60 cartridge. Now, the bar to entry is arguably lower these days. Anyone can publish a game, and there is no sort of shipping and all of that. And sales are also significantly higher. In 2020, Elden Ring sold 13 million copies in its first month of release. Back in 2002, the year's bestseller GTA Vice City sold less than 6 million copies by the end of the year. The plain and simple truth is there's a lot more gamers out there than there used to be. Publisher revenue is also massive.
I'll let you finish.
Here's just casual look at the kind of revenue that these companies are doing on on gaming. Sony Interactive, Tencent, Microsoft Gaming. We'll get to it. The list doesn't include private companies like Valve, or Activision Blizzard, who reported $8.8 billion in revenue before Microsoft bought them for $68 billion. Okay.
There's a lot to unpack here.
So with all that in mind, would it be a good thing if GTA 6 was priced at, let's say, $100, even though the original article from Michael Ball says $80 to $100? Let's stick with $100 for the sake of, following up our sensationalist, headline regurgitation here.
I don't suspect Rockstar exactly needs to do it. I think they are going to completely kill regardless. It might be good for other people in the industry. I think the examples of like the SNES cartridge are not necessarily fair because we have been in a predominantly digital distribution environment for a long time now.
Well, I think that's part of the point, is that is a big part of why we shouldn't have to pay for physical manufacturing and shipping that we don't have anymore.
But I think you can make that argument for a certain period of time, but eventually that margin is eaten up. We've been in predominantly digital distribution for a very long time now. It has not been a couple years.
Not on the console side. I would argue
even
that
consoles, I think, have been very predominantly digital for a while.
This generation,
most people I know are downloading stuff.
But PS4, truthfully, I don't know. I don't have the numbers.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'd love to hear from you guys. Floatplane chat. I mean, let us know. Like,
we're gonna have predominantly PC people, but
yeah, that's fair enough. But man, yeah, I know 360 PS3 was the start. People are saying PS4 was pretty split.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think it's pretty. Oh man, some of these folks. I mean, yeah, it makes sense that like our super connected
PS4 came out in
audience.
2013.
Buddy here is like, I was 50% digital on the 360, which, for our like hyper connected audience actually makes sense.
That might not be that representative.
But like,
I had a 360, it was all physical.
I'm pretty sure that normies have taken a fair bit longer to move digital. Especially,
you think so?
Especially with the inherent advantages of physical media on consoles. The fact that you can resell them is so huge. It's huge.
Yeah, but game stores are closing all over the place.
Well, that I know.
Because they can't say, and that's not new news.
That's true. That's very true.
Like, it's been big enough impact for stores to close since pre-COVID.
Well, I think what we can agree on is that we aren't sure.
Which is at least 5 years old.
But we do know that digital distribution has been a huge thing for a lot longer than games have been stuck at around $60.
Yeah. So I don't personally think that the reference back to the SNES cartridge is entirely fair.
Sure.
I think it was fair at a point in time.
Sure.
And then game prices didn't change at all for like over a decade.
Right.
So then it stops really being fair, in my opinion. I think also, like, some people are pointing out, like, there's way more sales now. It's like, yeah, okay. But if you look at the development teams at these companies, on average, I'd say they are way bigger now. Like, way bigger now. Yep. The amount of work that is going into making some of these games is incredibly immense. So I think that's another, like, kind of yin-yang situation.
Can I throw in a pitch here? Would you support the move to $100 if it meant, hold on,
140 right now Canadian?
If it meant that we could, as an industry, move away from so many, like,
microtransactions? Yes, absolutely. I would unquestionably agree with that.
So if the excuse from the industry is that, well, we had to do microtransactions because it was the only way to run our businesses sustainably with the stagnation of video game pricing.
I don't believe they won't take both.
Yeah, I know. That's where we were headed. But you couldn't allow me to imagine a blissful future for just a few moments.
I would genuinely 100% be on board. I used to really, really like doing kind of like more difficult things in game in order to earn some cosmetic or whatever.
Yeah.
I really, really liked that. And then, like, trying to get skins in COD by doing certain things with that specific firearm was cool. And then now you can buy cooler ones, and it's like, well, I don't know. It genuinely takes away from the game for me. So if you can put that back in, that has direct value for me.
Well, they won't.
I
think we all know that's not going to happen.
I also think, as much as I honestly think a lot of this can be justifiable in regards to price increase, but to a certain degree, I don't know how much it's going to matter.
Yeah.
Looking at the economy right now, I don't know that many Canadians, honestly, that can just drop $140.
That was my next point, is that at the end of the day, they can theoretically raise the price to whatever they want, but the price is going to be whatever the market will bear.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, especially on the PC side, where the promotions come so fast.
People are just going to wait.
And they go so deep.
Yeah.
It's going to end up, whatever it starts at, whatever MSRP is, unless you are Nintendo, unless you are Rockstar, unless you are one of these AAA developers or publishers, you are not going to be able to draw a line in the sand and say, "Oh, no further. This is it. This is our pricing." It's not gonna happen. You're gonna get whatever you're gonna get, and you're gonna do your Steam summer sale, and you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and I don't see I don't see it having a huge impact, because a $60 game already isn't $60. A $60 game is already, $38.99 on Steam, Black Friday or winter sale or summer sale or
like 2-3 weeks
spring break
later.
sale or whatever.
Some games hold out longer, but it ends up being pretty quick.
And that's exactly it. So we can have this new higher ceiling, but basically I think what's just going to happen is it's just going to go down to the price the market will bear, and that will be that.
Neither of us are claiming to really know anything about the actual economics behind this. So maybe that drop maybe most people have crazy FOMO and buy it right away. I'm just looking around in our environment, and if you know anything about it, the economic environment in Canada right now is dire. It's really rough. So it's not as far as my understanding goes, the economic environment in the States is genuinely not as bad. So if you're feeling it down there, it's really bad up here. And a lot of people that I know are doing pretty well comparatively, genuinely. Like people with really solid jobs up here are not going to be dropping $140 on a game.
Well, it's compounded by the fact that our currency is taking an absolute
but that's part of it, right?
Beating right now. So anything that is imported from anywhere, effectively our purchasing power has just been
so speaking as Canadians, which is the only thing I can realistically do, this is crushing for us, to be honest. It wouldn't even, he's rounding. It would be more like $146 at a straight one-to-one conversion. Like, it's one of those things where I will often see, Canadians complaining about the pricing on our store. It's like, why is your Canadian pricing so bad? Because our pricing is in US dollars. Our costs are in US dollars. Our markup is a certain amount above that. And then that's it. That's how much the product costs us, and that's what our markup is. So when it's so high in Canadian dollars, it's because the loonie is in the toilet. And if I just did a one-to-one conversion out of the goodness of my heart, we would be just losing money on every transaction on LTT Store. That's not realistic. That's not viable. The Wiley in Flowplane chat said, no, Luke should try speaking as a Spaniard.
I'd like to hear that.
I have no idea. I'm assuming it's a joke, but even if it's not, I can't imagine what the economy is in all the places around the world. We're just talking about Canada. And if you want to see some insane graphs, just look up cost of living versus income charts over time for Canadians.
If you look at a macro trend graph, it won't look much better across most of North America. But we're having a particularly acute
with housing stuff,
go of it right now.
Yeah, it's rough, and it's rough. It's rough everywhere, as far as I know. I just know that it is particularly rough up here. Joycey
says here in the UK, we're not doing much better than you guys.
Yeah,
I've heard that too.
I don't think a lot of people have the disposable income to jump up to this rate. That being said, in times of economic crisis, as far as my understanding goes, entertainment stays an expense for a lot of people.
And gaming is still one of the best value dollar per hour things you can spend your money on.
So I could just be totally wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe people will cut out travel, they'll cut out eating out, which we already know is happening too.
Even potentially.
When I was overseas, my news feed started to slant more British and Irish and all of that, right? And I read this just devastating article, and I forget the exact number, which makes me feel even worse because it's disappearing and nobody even can be bothered to remember the rate at which it's disappearing. But it pretty much was talking about the rate at which Irish pubs are closing.
Oh.
And it's terrifying because what's going to replace it? What's going to replace the small independent
dude, they're so unique
pub with that character and that history?
Yeah, nothing.
What a Tim fucking Hortons
honestly, I don't
Taco
drink.
Bell?
You don't drink?
No, I don't drink, but it's
neither of us are probably frequent.
But it's not just from my understanding, it's not the drinking. It's
a social thing.
That's your
They're genuinely
kind of your
cool
town
places.
square. It's your place to go and
they're often warm and genuinely pretty inviting. Yeah, it's a public house. Yeah. They're cool places.
Yeah, exactly. There. Thank you. That's a really good way of putting it. It's right in the name. Public house. And they're just disappearing. 603 says people don't socialize like they used to. The drop in the last 20 years of people gathering is astounding. And man, did COVID ever not help with that.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah.
Sure didn't help.
I used to go out to eat with people all the time. That was how I socialized.
And now,
I honestly can't remember the
Yvonne
last
and
time.
I asked him out. Really, you don't even remember?
Was Earl's with you guys? Was the last time I ate out?
No, we went to Boston Pizza.
When was that? Oh yeah.
It wasn't a memorable dinner at all, I guess. He knows why that's funny. Anyway,
I was maybe a little focused on other things. Okay, I sort of forgot about the food.
And when Yvonne reached out to him to get some dinner with us, he was like immediate response. Why? What's wrong?
Yeah,
and that's partially on us for not spending time with our friends often enough, apparently.
Was that actually what I said?
Something along those lines. It's partially on, Luke for not, just being in that mindset. And I think it's partially on just like all of us for just getting out of the habit of just fucking spending time together. Why are we, what's our excuse?
At this point, I don't know. I think it's habit forming. It takes a month to form a habit. And COVID for a lot of people was a lot longer than that. So,
yeah. No, he didn't get fired. And if he did, we'd do it somewhere much nicer than Boston Pizza.
You'd fire me at a nice location?
We'd put him down real nice.
Wow, that's so interesting. I need to pay attention to where you invite me to go eat
so
now.
If I ever invite you to Gotham's or something, then...
Oh, no.
Nice last meal.
No, I said, yeah, sounds great with a big smiley.
Okay, well, it was right away. She got a vibe.
Yeah, I did follow that up with a different message.
Yeah.
Being like,
So I stand behind the vibe representation.
I definitely might, yeah. I get away with the first message excuse, but yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But it was a detectable vibe for sure.